Welcome to another video in the music theory for beginners, or the intro to music theory course. It's Cody Wyman again, and in today's lecture we're going to learn about perfect and diminished fifths. Now what these are majority of the time open or sort of weird sounding intervals. If they're diminished fifths, they're more weird, but usually the perfect fifth is 1 to 5 in any scale, the first degree to the fifth degree of any key in any scale. And the perfect fifth usually revolves around these three things, or these two things I might add, these two notes that make up the interval of the fifth. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play a couple notes. And that didn't work. Let's go to speedy. Yes, so what we're going to do is we're going to play this. If you have this, or that's an example of a fifth. And what you would normally have is that open sounding tonality that's usually part of horn fifths or some sort of battle music. That's usually what you would associate as a P5 or perfect fifth. And that's normally the basis. That's the those are the anchor points for your 1, 3, 5 chords, your triads. In some instances, you may have what's called a diminished fifth, where the fifth becomes not this, B flat and F, but diminished slightly. That could be spelled as B and F flat, B flat and F flat. If it were spelled as B and E, it would be, or B flat and E, it would be an augmented fourth, which we talked about in the last lecture. Same difference. The augmented fourth and the diminished fifth are one and the same. They're what's called the tritone. And that's usually what you get when you flat. In a diminished fifth, you usually flat the fifth to make it go down a half step. So when I'm in here now, you would actually go like this. This is our that is a diminished fifth, or a tritone. This would be a perfect fifth. See how it's clean and crisp and open? Let me play these for you. And you'll get these handouts as handouts, by the way, in the course. Tritone, perfect fifth. Let's repeat it. So you see the other one is more like an augmented fourth. But if you had this written as a diminished fifth, you would actually take this from an F sharp, because normally it would be an F sharp if it were perfect. It would normally be like this. Wait for it to play a little bit. Perfect fifth, perfect fifth. That's normally what you'd have, but instead you take the fifth and you downsize it by a half step, which makes it an F natural instead of F sharp in the first one. Then you get that diminished fifth quality. You could also diminish this one. Now the A and the E flat is now a diminished fifth. And it's usually when you flat or minus half step one of the notes. Usually the ending note in the diminished fifth has to be the one that's brought down, or the upper note in the diminished fifth is brought up from perfect fifth status to not. So if you had, for example, this, if you had this, A and E again, perfect fifth. You can also take this approach, you can also plus it by a half step, plus the beginning note of the interval. And then you would have that. A sharp, which in the diminished fifth is okay, that's the way it's spelled, A sharp and E natural. But in a regular perfect fifth, that would be B flat spelling. So the spelling is also altered as well in the diminished fifth. Perfect fifth is clean. Perfect fifth, you've got this perfect, open, tonal sound. So here are my various fifths now as they stand. Diminished fifth, diminished fifth, diminished fifth, perfect fifth. And that is what your assignment is going to be on. I'm going to actually give you one of these handouts. It's going to have different notes, so they're going to be different, starting from different points, and I'm going to have you guess the perfect fifth in the sequence of fifths, and a lot of them are going to be diminished, but you're going to pick out the perfect one that isn't diminished. That's going to be your assignment following this lecture. So just remember that the perfect fifth is degree 1 to degree 5 in any scale. The interval between the first degree and the fifth degree in any scale, played simultaneously together or separately in a broken chord fashion. Or the diminished fifth is bringing the first note of the fifth up by a half step, or bringing the last note of the fifth down by a half step, usually flatting on the upper extension and sharping on the lower. So just to keep that in mind. There are some exceptions, but that's usually it. If you have any questions, please consult the Q&A, and on we go to the assignment.